When the United States, Canada, and Mexico won the right to host the 2026 World Cup, it was supposed to be a celebration of North American unity, a grand vision of football bridging divides. Fast forward to July 2025, and that dream has collapsed into chaos. President Trump's America First agenda has hijacked the tournament, sidelining the original United 26 branding and turning the event into a political spectacle. The World Cup, once envisioned as open and welcoming, is now defined by suspicion, exclusion, and fortress-like security. The spirit of international harmony has been replaced by jingoism and fear, as the world watches the countdown to kick off with growing dread. The dream of a united tournament has been torn apart, leaving a cautionary tale about the dangers of mixing sport with authoritarian politics. The first casualty of Trump's World Cup is open access. What was once a global celebration, where fans from every corner of the world could gather in the spirit of sport, is now shadowed by suspicion and restriction. The sense of unity that the World Cup has always fostered is under threat, replaced by a climate of anxiety and exclusion. In June, the administration banned entry from 19 countries, many in Africa and the Middle East, including Iran, a team that's already qualified. For thousands of fans, players' families, and even support staff, the dream of witnessing the World Cup in person has been shattered. The ban doesn't just affect those from the listed countries, it sends a chilling message to all who hope to be part of this global event. The message is clear: some nations, fans, and even journalists are simply not welcome. The press, who bring the stories of triumph and heartbreak to the world, now face barriers that silence their voices. The stands, once filled with a vibrant mix of languages and cultures, are noticeably emptier. Rumors swirl of expanding the ban to dozens more countries, creating a tiered World Cup where only select guests are allowed. The uncertainty has left many fans in limbo, unsure if they'll be able to travel or if their tickets will go to waste. The spirit of inclusivity that defines the World Cup is being eroded, replaced by a sense of division and fear. The crackdown extends to American streets, with ICE and CBP conducting visible raids and demanding proof of legal status, turning every fan's dream into a potential nightmare. Even public viewing parties, once joyous gatherings, are now scenes of tension, as fans worry about being targeted simply for showing their love of the game. The Club World Cup in Miami previewed this climate of fear, with immigration agents boarding boats and arresting people in public spaces. The festive atmosphere was replaced by a sense of unease, as fans looked over their shoulders, wondering if they might be next. The joy and spontaneity of the World Cup are being crushed by suspicion and hostility. Instead of uniting people, the tournament is now marked by heavy police presence and a palpable sense of fear, stifling the celebrations that once defined it. The Trump administration has built a wall around the tournament, locking out the diversity and passion that make the World Cup special. The world's game is being played behind barriers, its spirit diminished by policies that divide rather than unite. Trump's World Cup is also an environmental disaster in the making. The US withdrew from the Paris Agreement, scrapped renewable energy initiatives, and fast-tracked fossil fuel extraction, directly violating FIFA's hosting requirements. The projected carbon footprint is staggering, over 3.6 million metric tons, more than the annual emissions of dozens of nations combined. With wildfires ravaging host cities and water shortages in places like Los Angeles, the tournament is set against a backdrop of climate crisis. Any pretense of sustainability is gone, replaced by open climate denial from officials like Kristi Noem, who leads the World Cup Task Force. The event is on track to be remembered not for football, but as a monument to environmental recklessness. The 2026 World Cup risks becoming a symbol of denial while the world burns. The America First doctrine has triggered a corporate takeover of the World Cup, pushing American companies to the forefront and sidelining longtime international sponsors. Major global brands are threatening to withdraw, unwilling to be associated with a tournament mired in travel bans and climate denial. Broadcasters, too, are nervous about covering an event that excludes much of the world. The administration is reportedly influencing ticket allocations to favor American fans, undermining FIFA's promise of fair access. The result, a two-tiered system where politically connected US firms get preferential treatment, while global partners are pushed aside. The World Cup is being rebranded as an American showcase, not a global festival. The financial foundations of the event are shaking under this reckless, self-serving agenda. The United bid was meant to symbolize North American solidarity, a rare moment when the United States, Canada, and Mexico stood shoulder to shoulder on the world stage. It was a vision of shared purpose, of three nations coming together to host a global event and showcase the strength of their partnership. But that vision has been shattered. President Trump's divisive policies, from harsh rhetoric to sweeping executive orders, have driven a wedge between these neighbors, undermining the very foundation of trust that the bid was built upon. New tariffs on Canadian and Mexican goods have sparked a trade war, just as the three countries are supposed to be collaborating. Instead of celebrating economic unity, they are locked in disputes over steel, aluminum, and agricultural products. The flow of goods has slowed, businesses are caught in the crossfire, and the spirit of cooperation has been replaced by suspicion and retaliation. Canada and Mexico, once equal partners in this grand endeavor, now feel like junior shareholders in an American-led enterprise. Their voices are often sidelined, their concerns dismissed, and their influence diminished. The sense of mutual respect that once defined the alliance has eroded, replaced by a growing sense of frustration and powerlessness. Stringent U.S. security protocols are causing logistical nightmares and diplomatic friction, undermining the original vision of seamless travel and cooperation. Athletes, fans, and officials face endless delays and red tape, while government representatives struggle to resolve mounting disputes. The dream of a borderless tournament is slipping away, replaced by barriers both literal and figurative. The tournament, once imagined as a single unified celebration, is fragmenting into three separate events. Trust and unity are evaporating, replaced by isolation and division. Stadiums that should be filled with the energy of a continent united now echo with uncertainty and disappointment. For Canada and Mexico, the World Cup has become a source of embarrassment, their brands tarnished by association. What was meant to be a moment of pride has turned into a public relations nightmare, with headlines questioning their role and legitimacy in the tournament. They face an impossible choice: pull out and risk disaster, or stay and be complicit in a process that no longer reflects their values or interests. Behind closed doors, leaders weigh the costs, knowing that either path could have lasting consequences for their country's reputations and futures. The alliance that was to be the tournament's legacy is now its most prominent casualty. What began as a promise of unity has ended in division, leaving the continent to reckon with the fractured remains of what could have been a historic partnership. The real impact of Trump's World Cup is felt not in the stadiums but on the streets, where immigrant communities, the backbone of U.S. soccer, now live in fear and uncertainty. For decades, these neighborhoods have been the heart and soul of American soccer culture, bringing color, energy, and passion to every match. But today, the sense of belonging that once defined these communities is under threat. Heavy-handed enforcement has replaced joy with anxiety, as fans worry that public celebrations could lead to tragedy. The simple act of gathering to watch a match, once a source of pride and unity, now comes with the risk of police raids or ICE detentions. Parents hesitate to bring their children to games, and friends think twice before wearing their team's colors in public. In Nashville, supporters groups have boycotted matches in protest of ICE operations, refusing to celebrate while their communities are targeted. Their absence is a powerful statement, a reminder that the game cannot be separated from the lives of those who love it most. Similar protests are spreading across the country, as fans must choose between their love for the game and their safety. The stands are no longer just a place for celebration, they have become battlegrounds for justice and dignity. Some fans organize silent protests, while others simply stay home, their absence echoing louder than any chant. The Club World Cup in Miami saw many local fans stay away, fearing police and ICE presence. The vibrant street parties and spontaneous celebrations that once defined these events have been replaced by empty seats and a heavy sense of loss. The vibrant, diverse voices that make a World Cup electric are being silenced. The songs, the chants, the laughter, these are the sounds that give the tournament life, and without them, the spectacle feels hollow. The tournament risks becoming a sterile event, attended only by those privileged enough to feel safe. The divide between the stands and the streets has never been wider, and the sense of exclusion is palpable. Without the passionate support of all its fans, the World Cup loses its soul. The beautiful game is meant to unite, but when fear keeps people away, everyone loses. Players, fans, and the spirit of soccer itself. In the face of disaster, FIFA has remained silent, paralyzed by the close relationship between President Infantino and Trump. Instead of defending its principles, FIFA has made shocking concessions, dropping anti-discrimination messaging and ignoring its own rules. This alliance gives Trump international legitimacy and provides Infantino with political cover, as FIFA faces ongoing corruption investigations. FIFA's silence is a strategy, not an oversight, as it turns a blind eye to travel bans and climate violations. National associations and human rights groups have called for action, but their pleas are ignored. Infantino and his committee seem content to let Trump reshape the World Cup, as long as the money keeps flowing. FIFA has the power to intervene but has chosen complicity over responsibility. The organization has become an accomplice in dismantling its own greatest creation. With less than a year to go, the question remains, can the 2026 World Cup be saved? The most dramatic solution, moving the tournament, is legally and logistically possible, with Canada and Mexico as logical alternative hosts. Shifting the event would reaffirm the values of inclusivity and sustainability the United Bid promised. Downsizing the tournament is another option, but unlikely under FIFA's expansionist leadership. Ultimately, only overwhelming pressure from sponsors, broadcasters, and footballing nations might force FIFA to act. Without bold action, the tournament is destined to be a stain on the beautiful game. The clock is ticking, and the world is watching. The future of the World Cup hangs in the balance. The 2026 World Cup has become a billion-dollar own goal. Once a symbol of unity, now a monument to division and exclusion. The America First agenda has poisoned every aspect of the tournament, from immigration to climate policy and commercial partnerships. The result is a looming disaster that threatens the event's financial viability and moral legitimacy. Every promise of the United Bid has been broken. FIFA must find its backbone and demand the US honor its commitments, or face consequences, including relocation. The world is watching, and the legacy of the World Cup hangs in the balance. The choice is between a tournament that celebrates division and one that champions unity. For the sake of football, we must hope the right choice is made, soon.